showing we don't need roads.
Elizabeth, good to see you again. How are you?
Nice to see you again, too.
Seriously, thank you for taking the time. I'm sure I'm not the first person to tell you that you're phenomenal and everything, but in this, you're just absolutely incredible. Seriously, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. My pleasure.
I'm going to jump into this. I know as an actor, you used every imaginable resource that you could to get to know Princess Diana, every interview clip or recording or every photo. But I was curious, what is the question you most wish you could have asked her, the piece of information or insight that you most wanted that only she could have given you herself?
It never occurred to me to formulate a question. I think I would have liked to have a conversation about really, and I think this is what season 5 shows. It was an incredibly difficult period of her life, and I think that she triumphed through it, and I think I would want to know how she did that. And I think that's what The Crown tries to do, really. It interprets what might be happening in these people's inner world and how they sort of get through this really difficult period of time in their lives. And I think she was a remarkably strong and courageous person.
It's so humanizing, which is why I love the show as much as I do. I know we've talked about this extensively. I think we talked about this at Tenet. Few dresses in modern history have been written about as much as Diana's revenge dress. There have been countless think pieces all speculating on what that dress did for her, the power that it gave her. But I'm curious, as an actor, what did that dress give you? Like, what did it do for you that you were able to turn around and then put on camera?
Well, I think it is powerful, but it's sort of the question is why. And having played that moment, it's a very there's a freedom in the spirit of it. It's very much there. There's no denying its presence, and it takes up a kind of space. She looked remarkably beautiful and strong. There's something slightly ferocious about it, but obviously what's playing underneath is our knowledge of what was also happening in a private sphere, which was a moment of real pain and suffering. So I think somehow there's something it's definitely triumphant, but it's tinged with something quite painful. And somehow the combination of that is so accessible to us, and it's also so human and just iconic.
But I see that like in every level of your performance, which is why I think it works really well. When it comes to nailing a particular voice or vocal mannerisms or a specific way of speaking, actors have talked to me about like a sentence or a turn of phrase or a word that kind of gets them there. I'm sort of curious, like you nailed Diana's voice. Was there a particular line or a turn of phrase that would kind of get you there on a daily basis?
Well, the phrase changed, and I'm not going to do it, but the phrase...
Sure, that's fine.
The phrase changed a lot. Depending on which year we were in, just maybe because of what kind of footage I was watching in relation to the time period. But actually, we have these amazing dialect coaches, and the dialect coaches always give you these ridiculous sentences that make absolutely no sense because they all have the same vowel in the same sentence and da-da-da. So I have those, and I would say them all the time, and they're ridiculous. And everyone around me on set has a certain one that they enjoy the most, and they're nonsensical. But when you do them in the accent, they're pretty funny.
You saying I'm not going to do it is making me think, oh, everyone on this press tour has asked her to do.
No, nobody has. But it's just, I don't mind.
No, I got you. Now that you have such a deep understanding of this woman, the way that she felt like an outsider brought into a world that none of us really understand, I'm sort of curious how has it, or has it at all, changed how maybe differently you see Kate Middleton or Meghan Markle? Like, do you see them through a different light now, or are those situations even comparable at all?
Well, I don't really know. I think what The Crown has the capacity to do is sort of help the audience empathize, because obviously we understand a sort of a public-facing version of these people, and we're not privy to who they really are and what's going on behind the closed doors. And so I think what the show can show us is the weight of the responsibility and how tremendously difficult it is to uphold that, and how many sacrifices need to happen, but also how difficult it is to maintain your center and your sense of self when you're being observed like that and you're being criticized, or you're sort of held up on a podium one day and then you come crashing down the next day. I just think it's unfathomably difficult, and I think that the people who find themselves in those positions are so strong to be able to manage that and navigate it. And I think there's the human desire is always a desire for, inherently for balance and for privacy and to be able to enjoy your life and enjoy your loved ones. And that's just a sort of basic desire that we all have. But it's so difficult to do that when you're being so observed. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Elizabeth, well said. I seriously thank you so much for taking the time. I loved your work here in Chicago and Widows, and Tenet was my #1 film of the year, and your performance in this is one of my favorite performances I've seen in a very long time. Thank you for always being so kind.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you.
Really good to see you again. Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.